commission resumes. Generaal Major is nog steeds on it. Ms. Jelly, still got some
General
questions.
still under oath.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just to finalise the few points we were dealing with yesterday prior to the adjournment, General, if I might ask, you indicated that in your position as what is referred to in Exhibit L, slide 67, Chief of Staff, as it were, it was your responsibility to be second in command, whilst General Mpembe might be attending to other duties, such as, for example, the discussions between AMCU and NUM. Is that correct?
Into uyithetha ke ukusithiwe nabo balibambela ke la ka-General Mpembe ke ngoku njengesikhundla esibunaso ulisekela la kwenzela into yoba xa ehamba yothetha nabanye ke ngoku abafana nabantu be-AMCU neminye imibutho wena iba nguwe obusala kukuchaphela intlanganiso kunjalo.
Goeiemôre, dis korrek voorsitter.
Good morning, that is correct, Mr. Chairperson.
Maholo ke inyani leyo.
Thank you, General. Just to obtain clarity so that we have a very clear picture of who was empowered to make what decision at what time. During the time that General Mpembe might have been, unfortunately, incommunicado due to the communication difficulties that have been dealt with, would it have fallen upon you to make any decisions and or give any instructions that he might be, unfortunately, not in a position to communicate?
Ukuba bakho imeko ke ngoku apho bambeke khona uGeneral Mpembe apho kuzofuneka uthatha isigqibo khona ke ngoku ibe banguwe ke umuntu lo okwazi ukuba uthathe isigqibo.
Dit is korrek voorsitter.
That's correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo.
And would everyone else in the field have been aware of the fact that if they hear from you, they have to follow whatever instructions provided? Everyone, I mean everyone in the field, unit commanders, individuals, for example, like Brigadier Kalitz, Brigadier Fritz, General Naidu, and so on.
Koko ke ngoku bebesazi bonke abantu bephaa kwindawo ke ngoku le babelinde kuyo amapolisa into yokuba xa into ithethwe nguwe ingumyalelo kufuneke bayithobele bayenze umzekelo Brigadier Fritz noNaidu bonke aba bantu na.
Dit is korrek voorsitter.
Correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
If I can just take you to Exhibit SS3, and if you wouldn't mind looking specifically at the slide that's on my page 23, it's specifically the slide that's entitled Command and Signal.
Ke ngoku basinga pha ku SS3 phepha 23 apho ke ngokuthethwa ke ngophawu lo khutshwa kwemiyalelo.
Voorsitter, as ek net kan vra wat se gedeelte my SS3 is ongelukkig nie bladsy genommer nie. Ek het die twee contingency beplannings, die een van die 10de en die 13de en dan die een wat Operation Platinum gedoop is.
SS23 has got a number of SS3 got a number of documents all bundled together, various plans, two of them at least I think, and the pages aren't numbered, so it's a bit of a mission to find the relevant page. So he wants you. He's asking for further particularity so you can identify the document you're referring to.
I'm happy to assist. Chairperson, I actually have in the top right-hand corner, which would be essentially the bottom of the slide if one has it in front of one, the numbers in sort of grey print, 001720. They are the numbers in the police hard drive. I thought that would be one element. (001720) is the number at that corner. The slide is titled Command and Signal. It has 4 bullet points of text. The one before that is entitled Administration and Logistics. And after that begin the annexures to the plan of the 10th of August on our electronic copy of SS3. Still seem to be struggling. Perhaps at some point we might paginate SS3. I'm afraid I can't assist any further in terms of finding it because I have it on that electronic version. I understand that Ms. Sello has found it for Mr. Semenya. General, are we winning?
I have a slide that says command and signal.
And the first bullet point says the overall commanders, open parentheses, PC and Major Generals, close parentheses, exercise control from the job.
I'm also indebted to the Commissioner for making this available. Thank you, ma'am. Yes.
All right. The reason I want to refer specifically to this slide is, as I understand it, it is a slide that directly relates to the command structure during the course of the operations. And it refers to overall commanders. I want to be absolutely sure, to the extent that you've indicated what your role was and what General Mpembe was, is there a risk that there might have been a number of individuals, especially under circumstances where General Mpembe was incommunicado, who would have been in a position to give instruction without the input, certainly, of the overall commander? Is there a risk that not everybody knew where which instruction would come from?
Kwakukho ubungozi ke ngoku bokuba abantu abasoze bayazi into yokubana lo myalelo ukhutshwayo uvela kubani na, njengoba ichazwa ke nakolu xwebhu into yokubana kukho ke ngoku abangameleyo, iinkomando ezongameleyo apha ayithethi ngomntu omnye.
Voorsitter, nee, die beginsel in die polisie werk sodanig dat as die bevelvoerder nie beskikbaar is nie, dan gaan dit outomaties oor op die volgende senior rang.
The principle in the police, Mr. Chairperson, is that if the commander is not present, the person second in rank would then be responsible.
Indlela kusetyenziswayo ke epolisini into yokuba lowo ungameleyo ke inkumanda leyo xa ingekho, olisekela lakhe okanye oza emva kwakhe ngesikhundla nguye ke ozawuthatha ke aqhubekeke.
Jy moet ook besef dat met die uitsondering van die pertinent die Woensdag was generaal Mpembe deurgangs of teenwoordig of in radiokommunikasie en dan pertinent op die 16de.
It should also be noted that, save the Wednesday, General Mpembe was present all the time until the 16th. If not present there, then he was available in radio communication.
Into endifuna ukuyisho into yoba lonke ixesha wayehlala ekhona yena uGeneral Mpembe ngaphandle kwa ngale mini wayingolesithathu, kodwa xa engekhoyo ke kwakuye kubekho unxulumano naye ngoonomathotholo aba basetyenziswayo.
Verder, voorsitter, was daar ook dan in die JOCOM vergadering was almal teenwoordig, so almal het presies geweet wat die plan behels.
Otherwise, Chairperson, everybody was present at the JOCOM meetings and everybody was up to date, was aware of what was happening.
Kodwa ke wonke umuntu wayeba khona phaa kwintlanganiso leyo yeJOCOM kwaye bonke babesazi into yoba kwenzeka ntoni.
En met die terugkeer van generaal Mpembe op die Woensdag as hy uit die JOC uit was, dan het ek hom behoorlik toegelig, of selfs as ek nie teenwoordig was nie, was ons deur die operasionele kamer Brigadier Pretoria is ingelig in terme van wat gebeur het, of daar's SMS'e gestuur of selfoon kommunikasie.
And whenever General Mpembe was not present, like on Wednesday, when he returns, he would be informed, he would be kept up to date about what happened. Brigadier Pretoria was also there to keep him up to date. Or we did it via SMS or telephonic communication.
Into eyisenzeka ukuba ke ngoku xa engekhoyo umzekelo yena uGeneral Mpembe lowo waye axelelwe ke ngoku kwakhona into abazinto lezenzekayo, enye indlela babeyisebenzisa ke ukuba babemtsalela unxeba phaa kwimfonomfono okanye athunyelwe izinto sisibiza i-SMS.
Thank you, General. We'll be dealing with the issue of mobile phones at some point during the course of the day. I'd like to turn now to the next issue. There has been...
Before we move on, this document that we're looking at, the first bullet that was read, the overall commanders, brackets PC and Major Generals, close brackets, exercise control from the JOC, relieving each other as other commitments are dealt with. I see the first overall commander listed in the passage in the section in brackets is the Provincial Commissioner. Is that correct?
Uxa ijongile pha umuntu oqala ukuchazwa kwabo kwabantu ke kuthiwa bongameleyo izinkumane ezongameleyo nguyi-commissioner lena yephondo kunjalo?
Voorsitter, nee, dit is verkeerd. Nie die overall commander in die konteks van die operasie of in die konteks van Staande Order 262 nie.
No, Chairperson, not in the context of Standing Order 262 and the operation.
What the document says. As the document says, it says the overall commanders exercise control from the JOC, and it tells us in brackets who the overall commanders are, and the first one listed is PC, which is the Provincial Commissioner. Unless the document was wrong, was wrongly drafted, incorrectly states the position, that's what it says, isn't it so?
Uthi ke ngaphandle ba ke ngoku ayibhalwanga ngendlela ke ngoku efanelekileyo lelibhalwe phaa kodwa ngokwendlela phaya kuyabonisa into ba ke ngoku i-commissioner lena yephondo inguye ke ngoku omnye weenkumanda izongamelayo kunye ke ngoku ne-generals ezinye ezi.
Voorsitter, dis hoekom ek sê die verwysing in die dokument is verkeerd. Die verwysing na overall commanders, dit is nie bedoelende soos in die konteks van Staande Order 262 nie.
What appears in the document is not correct. It's not in accordance with how it is in Standing Order 262.
Le nto ibhalwe phaa ihambisani nale ibhalwe phaa ku-Standing Order 262 ngoku ke leya ayihambi ngolaa hlobo ibhalwe ngayo phaa.
Who drafted the slide? Who drafted that slide? Who was responsible for the wording?
Ubani ke lo ubhale ezaa zinto zibhalwe phaa?
Voorsitter, op die einde van die dag is dit deur ons almal goedgekeur, maar dit sou waarskynlik kolonel Visser of luitenant-kolonel Scott gewees het.
At the end of the day, it was all of us, Chairperson, but it would be Colonel Visser or Colonel Scott.
Ke o yena wayenzayo ke yenziwa sithi sonke kodwa ke nguColonel Scott noColonel Visser abathi ke ngokubona bayibhala.
Voorsitter, enkele bladsye verder weerspreek ons eie voorlegging ons waar ons dan by command en signal ook verwys na overall commander en dan pertinent die naam noem van major-generaal of generaal-major Mpembe.
Further on in these documents, there is that contradiction where it refers specifically to General Mpembe as the overall.
Can you give us the police hard drive reference to the slide to which you're now referring?
Voorsitter, dit blyk te wees 000418.
It looks like 000418, Chairperson.
Uyatsho ke ngoku kumaqoqo amapolisa le ndlela ibeka ngayo into yoba owayongamele apho ibhalwe phi ke ngokuba yayinguGeneral Mpembe lo wayongamele ezinye iinkomanda apho.
Thank you. I see this document has, as you correctly say, the reference in the top right-hand corner 418, 000418. We don't. It's not apparent what the date of this document is and how it fits in the sequence, but presumably that will be explained in due course. Thank you.
General, on the 16th of August, did it actually occur that in Major General Mpembe's absence that you had to give any orders as regards the exercise or the plan that was being executed?
Nge-16 saka August ngexesha ngekuGeneral Mpembe kwabakho ixesha apho wena wakhupha imiyalelo yokuba kwenziwe njengoba kucwangcisiwe okanye kulandelwe isicwangciso senziweyo.
Commissaris, die oggend van die 16de was beide ek en generaal Mpembe nie teenwoordig nie.
Commissioner, the morning of the 16th of August, both me and General Mpembe were not present.
Sobabini ke ngentsasa nge-16 mna noGeneral Mpembe sasingekho.
Maar ons was in selfoonkommunikasie.
But we were in communication in the JOC.
Kodwa sasihlala sikunxulumano kunye sipha kuJOC.
Apologies, General, just to ensure the interpretation, you mentioned you were in cell phone communication.
With
Did
the
I
JOC.
Understood. Thank you.
With the JOC, yes.
Uthethile ke nejok kodwa besebenzisa imfonomfono.
Commissaris, en dan die middag wat generaal Mpembe in die helikopter was.
The afternoon when General Bembe was in the helicopter,
Emva kwemini ke ngeli xesha waye kwinqwelontaka uGeneral Mpembe.
Was hy in radiokommunikasie gewees. Hy het presies dieselfde boodskappe ontvang as wat ons in die JOC ontvang het. Ons het geen verdere detail ontvang as wat hy self ontvang het nie.
he was in contact with radio and could understand everything that we in the JOC were aware of.
Waye phake ngokunxulubelana naye inxulumelana kunye naye ngenomathotholo aba kwaye wenolwazi ke ngezinto ngenjuba waye kade nedliwana ndlebe nabantu bapha kuJOCOM.
Maar commissaris, ek is by volle magte om 'n besluit te neem. In sy afwesigheid sou dit blyk dat hy nie in kommunikasie is of nie iets pertinent opgetel het om te reageer op nie.
If there was pertinently that he could not hear or react to, I had the authority, the full authority, to give such commands if it was necessary.
Ukuba ke ngoku yena wayengeva kakuhle nam ke ndandinalo ke igunya lokuba ndingakhupha imiyalelo xa kunyanzeleke into enjalo funeke iyenzeke.
Question was, did you in fact on the 16th give any orders in the absence of General Mpembe?
Umbuzo bendibuza into yoba ngeli xesha wayengekho uGeneral Mpembe ikhona imiyalelo ke wayitsho wayikhupha wena?
Jammer commissaris, nee, ek het nie.
Sorry, Commissioner, there was none.
Xolo ke zange ndibekho nto ndiyalelayo.
The next item I would like us to turn to, if you might be of assistance, General, is the issue of briefing and the use of video operators. Now, I know it's been dealt with to a certain extent by some of my colleagues, so I will limit my questions to those that have not as yet been dealt with and that are of direct interest to us. The first, with respect to briefing, might I ask you to look at a short video? It is, as we understand it from our records, a briefing conducted during the course of the 18th. There are a number of videos of briefings conducted during the course of the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th. We chose a short segment simply to use it as an example. And what I would like you to do, please, is to look at the video and tell me, is this what a briefing looks and or sounds like? And perhaps identify the individuals who's giving that briefing. I'd appreciate it if my colleagues upstairs could have the video ready to play. Would it require an exhibit number at this stage? Because as I understand it, these particular videos have not as yet been played. They're part of the...
If it's going to be part of the record, shown during the sitting of the Commission, it's got to have an exhibit number. As far as I can see, the next exhibit will be G30.
Kuthiwe ke ngoku nokuba kukho ke ngoku iividiyo ezawudlalwa apha apho kwakukhutshwa ingxelo ngomhla we-18 zininzi iividiyo ezadlalwa kusuka ngo-18 yotsho nge-19 yotsho nange-20 kwakhona kodwa ke uzawucacisa ke uba ugeneral uba yile nto ukhutshwa ingxelo yiyo le yenzeka phaa nokuba ukuba laa mntu ukhupha ingxelo phaa uyamazi atsho uba ngubani loo mntu lowo na.
Could we entitle it Callett's Briefing 18th? Because we believe it's Brigadier Callett's, but I'm sure the General will be able to confirm that for us. Briefing 18 August 2012. 18 August. It is. As you're aware, Chairperson, a number of operations were continuing days after the 16th.
What I'm saying wasn't recorded. So Exhibit G30 will be Carlett's Briefing 18/8/2012 video, right?
Kuthiwa ke into yoba bayamazi uba nguBrigadier Khalid kodwa ke lingqina lizawutsho lingqine ngokwanto uba nyhani nguye uBrigadier Khalid lo unika ingxelo phaya.
Could it play at this time?
So if we could have a little bit of silence, those on the radios that is on, just turn them off for a while. Who is here for the first time? Is there any group that is arrived now? Can I just see by way of hands for the first time that you are deployed? Give me an indication that you are from? Northern Cape. Oh, that is a group that arrived?
We are members of the SABC.
This morning, that's group 4, 5 o'clock.
Here's the coverage. concerning the briefing, Sasha?
There seems to be a dual sound. I'm just worried about that. I'm focusing on what the person with the microphone
For the group that arrived
loud
just now, we will going to orientate you on a map. Alright, so when we finish, we will orientate you on a map. Today's information is, and we already briefed the commanders, the most important thing. People in civilian you are from? Detectives? Where? Huh? Liverpool. Yesterday? Liverpool, I'm from you? Huh? Alright, just want to make sure because otherwise we brief the media. I don't know what this is. Ladies and gentlemen, the information is, and there's no secret that Mr. Julius Malema will visit us today. The purpose of the visit is that they want to take the copy back. Alright, now all of you that's been here, we know where the first scene was and we know where the second scene was. Now the people want to regroup from the village. That is the crime intelligence information. Information is that Mr. Malema will come, regroup the mine, and then inform them to go back to the copy, go back to the strike, and then the information is that they're going to provoke the police. They also sent a message to the media to say, come and look how the police is treating us. Alright, so you will definitely be provoked, and then there will be action taken from there. What we're going to do in preventative measures, we already briefed the commanders. We will be issued, and therefore all of us, I said this morning, the group that, the Thursday group, the group that was here for Thursday, was involved in that incident. We're going to take you for the administration part, the debriefing part, and to make sure that all the list, the 15s, everything is in place. But for now, that group also going to deploy, everybody we're going to deploy towards the copy. That is now inclusive, NIU, TRT, POPs, K9, mountain support, mobile operations, detectives, everybody. We're going there to assist that we're going to pick up the barbed wire. You are aware that the barbed wire was thrown in front as a cordon for the police. Now we're going to take the nyanas. Very important, so we're going to deal with it now. I think we got 19 nyanas. So think for yourself for now, the commanders, who is those nyana drivers? In a short while we'll ask the nyana drivers to step to the front. We have to take today your name, your cell phone number, your call sign. Then we also ask that the person who marked the nyanas on top, there's no black paint left. Your nyanas that came from other provinces, you'll mark on top with a proper call sign. Then the driver will make sure what is a call sign on top. We only work with that call sign. So for me that is crucial, the nyana drivers. Whenever we move out, we will move out in a contingent. There's no threat at this stage, so nyana soft tops, everything. The idea is we're going to pick up that barbed wire. Then we're going to hook it. There's enough mine gloves. They're going to give us hooks as well as enough gloves. The more we are, the quicker we can pick up those wire. Then there's only 6 carts, so it's not going to take us that long. If 10, 20 people tackle one, it is minutes, then it's through. Then those 6 barbed wire, we're going to redeploy them at the very same copy, but closer to the copy. Alright. Those people that don't know the area, it's fine, I will brief you on the map. The bigger copy as well as the smaller one, we're going to encircle the whole copy. Not from the entrance from this side, where we normally approach it from the forward holding area 1, and go around the, the power station. We're going to start at the other side, of the copy. Not the side that we approached them from during scene 1, on the other side. There, the nyana drivers, the commanders take note. We're going to close from that side, from the power station, right around, but very tight towards the copy, not so far, very tight, so that we make a proper circle over the second, the smaller copy, go back very tight, up to the time when we reach the power station again. If we do not reach the power station, and there's not enough, because it's about 6 or 7, that open space between the last end and the power station, there we're going to deploy 2 or 3 of our armored vehicles. Okay, so far you are with me. Then the mine, we got additional barbed wire that can cover about 1 or 2 kilometers, the other barbed wire. They will also make it available with their vehicles, but they don't have enough personnel. Those southern side, this side, my left, if you approach the copy, we're going to close it, encircle that whole copy up to the point where the canters went in. Those that were at the copy, you remember. There's a space where we put the canters in, those 5, to load all that suspects. There's 259 people arrested. So that space will be left open. Now, that will become our base camp. Alright, we will just come report here, but the Northwest people, you know, wherever we have a problem, we go and we make a base camp in the middle of that problematic area. Are you with me? So then from there on, that will be your base camp. That is where we stay, that is where we deploy from, that will be our base camp. That second copy got enough space in between, there the people can even input the soft top vehicles. Alright. We will make toilet facilities available there, everything there. The breakfast, the lunch, the supper, if needs be, will be there. During the night, we will have sufficient lighting from the mine that will be deployed on the outskirts there. Alright. We will use the remainder of the barbed wire to close off in between areas, so that if there's any channeling, they can just use about a space of 20 meters or 10 meters or whatever the case may be. That is for our protection as well as for the community that go to work and walk through there for their own protection. Any questions?
Thank you. I don't know whether or not the interpreter wants to interpret at all. He indicates he does.
Ngokufutshane nje ke ubrigadier Khalid Pha bethetha ngala xesha kwakuthiwa kuzofika uJulius Malema abize bonke abantu pha intabeni abaqokeleleka khona injongo ibe kuxhokonxa amapolisa kwaye kwakukhinyathelo ezawuthathwa ngoku ke wayethetha into yobana bona bazawuya pha basebenzise ke ngoku ihipo zabo eziyi-19 batsala ucingo oluhlabayo babarhanqele njani ke ngoku abantu kwenzele ke ngoku ucingo olu indawo yongena ibe ncinci ibe pha ngase-power station njengoba bethethile ngokufutshane ke yiyo ke into beyithetha ngoba besithi nelo cingo bazalisebenzisa noba bakwazi ukuthi nabo bazikhusela kwaye bakhusela nabantu abasipha elokishini abafuna ukuya emsebenzini.
General, is that an example of a briefing?
Ukhutshwa kwengxelo yinto lolo hlobo ke?
Dit is ook 'n toelichting, dis korrek.
It's also a briefing, yes, that's correct.
Ewe ikwayiyo nayo leyo inyani leyo.
Sorry, you mentioned also a briefing. What is it beside a briefing?
Ukhutshwa kwengxelo ke uthi uchaza njengantoni?
Voorsitter, ons het nie 'n sjabloon in terme van hoe 'n toelichting moet wees in die polisie nie.
We do not have a designed manner in which a briefing has got to be conducted, Chairperson.
Asinandlela ke singathi imisiwe efuneka ilandelwe xa kusithi kukhutshwa ingxelo kuyo.
So uiteraard het toelichtings te doen met die omstandighede en die informasie op die stadium, maar dit is 'n tipiese toelichting.
This is a typical briefing, but briefing depends on the circumstances existing at the time.
Imzekelo wayo ke le ukhutshwa kwengxelo ke kuye kuxhomekeke kwindlela ezothi khutshwa ingxelo ngayo kwimeko elapho ngelo xesha.
While I appreciate that you have stated you were under the impression that the video operators were working, with respect to the issue of their safety concerns, with respect to a briefing, certainly if it were to be videoed, they wouldn't have any such concerns seemingly within this scenario. They would be amongst SAPs and there wouldn't be any risk to their lives if they were to choose to video a briefing or at the very least record it as is required in Standing Order 262, even though it doesn't specifically require it being videoed.
Kwakungasoze kubekho ubungozi ke ngoku apho nje bakubhalwe na ku Standing Order 262 apho ke ngokutshiwo na kuyo into yobana ke ngokufuneke kubekho ivideo ezenziwayo okanye ezithathwayo.
So toelichting is in 'n beheerde omstandighede, so daar sal uiteraard nie 'n bedreiging wees nie op sodanige persoon se lewe nie. Dit is korrek.
Such a briefing is conducted under protected circumstances. As such, there wouldn't be that threat to the operators of the videos amongst the members.
Abekhupha ingxelo ke iba indawo ekhuselekileyo kwaye kwaba bathatha ivideo ke akubikho ke sigrogriso kumeko ezilolu hlobo.
Maar is reg, daar's geen vereiste dat 'n toelichting moet opgeneem word nie.
But as you say, there is no it's not no requirement that it should be videoized.
Njeba utshilo ke nawe akho ayinto emfuneko le into bafuneke kwenziwe ivideo yayo lonto.
To the extent that you mentioned that there were a number of steps that should be taken with respect to video operations and so on, I understand, and I don't wish to refer to it in detail, that you were one of those that approved a document and a specific directive that deals with video operations specifically. I'll just get the title for you. The reason I'm referring to it and want to refer to it is that obviously you would be in a position over and above the suggestions that you made yesterday about improvements with regard to the use of video operation to also give input on whether or not a particular directive that might ask for consistent videoing of briefings to be made. And I would ask you whether or not you wouldn't think that, considering what we've just seen, in terms of records, lessons learned for futures, it wouldn't be something that the SAPS could or should contemplate. The document that I am referring to is entitled Video Administration Directive, POP Division ORS, and I see your name at the bottom of it, so I'm assuming you were part of the command that had to approve this document. It can be found in the SAPS bundle 279. To the extent that it deals with the fact that video operators account to their unit commanders, I don't want to deal with the details of it with you. But to the extent that you have contributed to its authorship.
Seeing you quoted it, I suppose we should see it. Because, do you know the date of the document? Is it before or after 16 August 2012?
I have no idea, unfortunately.
Well, maybe the witness can help us. Yeah. Do you recall the document to which counsel is referring?
Uyayikhumbula uqwebu ke ngoku yena advocate athetha ngalo?
Voorsitter, ek hoop regtig nie my naam is weer misbruik in 'n dokument nie.
I hope my name has not again been misused in a document, Ms. Chairperson.
Ndithemba uba lisetyenziswanga kakubi kakhona laxhatshazwa igama lam kulunye lwamaxwebhu ke.
Maar voorsitter, is een van die vele konsepdokumente wat ons aan werk sedert ek betrokke geraak het by die divisie operasionele reaksiedienste, het ons met 'n verskeidenheid van direktiewe begin, so dit is 'n konsepdirektief, maar hy is nog nie afgeteken nie.
It is a concept directive, Ms. Chairperson, one of the many that I have been part of people working with.
He said, but it's not been signed off.
It has not been signed off. It's still a concept document.
I was interested in the date.
Usatsho ke into yokubana baninzi abantu abasebenze khona uxwebhu athetha ngalo kodwa lona olu alukatyikityo.
General, you're referred to as brigadier in this particular document, and
I think it was before the 1st of August 2012, if he's referred to as a brigadier.
How much before? I have no idea.
No, it doesn't matter. It's before the 16th. So, is that right? It's a draft. It was drafted prior to the events of the 16th, as is evidenced by the fact that your name, whether misused or not, was given with the rank of brigadier and not yet Major General. Is that a fair inference of the circumstances?
Ndithekelela kakuhle naxa ndisithi ke ngoku ngeli xesha ubhalwe njengoba ubhalwe phange wena ukuba isikhundla sakho wawuyibrigadier, yinyani uba loo nto ngeli xesha usenzela uxwebhu kwakungaphambi kwe-16 zaka-Agasti?
Voorzitter, dis korrek en daar behoort nie 'n datum te wees nie, as gewoonlik 'n weergawe, 'n version, en hy word voorberei uiteraard vir die handtekeninge wat moet volg. So ek dink nie daar sal 'n pertinente datum op hom wees nie, want hy's nog nie afgeteken nie, maar dit was verseker in die tyd voor my aanstelling as
generaal-major.
It was a document which would not have a date because it is a concept. It will only be dated the date it is signed off during the days when I was still not on the rank of Major General.
Understood.
I wasn't listening to the interpreter, but I understand you used the word concept. Concept in Afrikaans is draft in English. That's the word that he is using, and he means a draft.
Oh yes, a draft document, and not a concept document, a draft
into ayithethayo ke into yoba luxwebhu ke olwalingekagunyaziswa elo ngela xesha okanye lingekatyikitywa.
My last question on this is, considering the fact that I'm going to assume your name was not misused and you have a certain amount of knowledge in this field, and thanks to your input yesterday on this specific issue, in your experience, in a gathering of the size that there was at Marikana during the course of that week, how many video operators would you have expected to find on duty and available on any given day? And I do mean the day shift, not the night shift, General.
Ke ngoku ngenxa yobuninzi babantu apho kwakho khona uqhankqalazo wena ucinga ke ngoku lingaphi bangaphi abantu ke ngoku abasebenza ngevidiyo kwakufuneka babe khona ngemini ke kwinto yayilolo hlobo phaya.
Voorsitter, dis moeilik. Ons het gewoonlik het ons net een, miskien maksimum 2 video-operateur tydens openbare protes en ek praat nou van die geskiedenis.
Chairperson, it's difficult to say. Usually we have 1 or 2 video recorders in an operation, but I am talking of the past protests.
Kuba ngumntu omnye okanye ababini ke abasebenza ngevideo ke xa kuqhankqalazo ke ndithetha ngezinto ezenzeke kwixesha elidluleyo.
Ek het gedink dat die 5 wat ons beplan het sou genoeg gewees het as ek nou moet kyk in retrospeksie.
Looking now in retrospection, I think the 5 that we needed would have been sufficient.
Xa ndijonga ngokucinga esasihlanu sasifuna yayizoba linani elaneleyo.
I'm not sure that I heard correctly. I understood the witness to say, I thought the 5 we planned were enough, but did I understand correctly? Yes. So,
said we needed instead of planned.
Despite the fact that they normally only had 1 or 2, on this occasion, regard obviously to the magnitude of the operation, you planned for 5. Is that, I understand that to be your evidence, and you thought, and probably still think that was enough, provided they all stayed at their posts or at least moved to other posts from which they could operate their equipment. Would that be fair?
Behalwe voorsitter in retrospek dink ek is dit dalk selfs 5 was nie genoeg gewees nie, al sou hulle almal ten volle gefunksioneer het, waarskynlik gegee so 'n operasie dalk selfs meer.
Chairperson, yes, in retrospect, even the 5 that we had contemplated would not have been sufficient. We could have needed even more, even if they had stayed in their particular places where they were placed.
Na sasihlanu ke sasiza yayizoba ngabantu abangonelanga kwaye kwakuzofuneka into ba ke inani labo longezeleke.
And sorry, General, those 5 would have had SAPS equipment available to them, the same SAPS equipment they would have been responsible for checking, maintaining, and so on.
Ababe SAPS ke ngoku ngabo ke ngoku bakuzofuneka into bana bazijonge kakuhle zona kwaye baqinisekise into bana ke ngoku zisebenza kakuhle nokuzikhathalela kunjalo.
Net voor ek dit antwoord voorsitter, wil ek net meld.
Before responding to that, should I just mention, Mr. Chairperson?
Dat om toeligtingssessies af te neem, selfs in die toekoms, is problematies.
That the recording of such events, even
Briefings.
Of briefings rather, is problematic.
Kuba ingxaki ke ukurekoda ke apho kukhutshwa khona ingxelo.
En daardeur verwys ek nie na die groot aanvanklike parade soos wat Brigadier Kalitz gedoen het met die groter groep lede nie.
I'm not referring to a big occasion such as the one that was recorded, such that was addressed by Brigadier Kalitz.
Anthethi ke umzekelo ngalanto njengoba besibonile kumabonakude apho bethetha khona uBrigadier Kalitz.
Maar ek dink dit sal net nie haalbaar wees as ons opbreek en verdere toeligting wat bevelvoerders direk vir hulle kleiner seksies gee en dit kan dalk soveel as 15 of 20 sulke kleiner toeligtings wees nie.
If it is broken then into smaller briefings, it could be a number up to about 15 such small
all taking place simultaneously, I assume, which means you would have had to have 15 videographers, I think is the right word, videographers present recording each one, which would be totally impractical, I should imagine.
Dit is korrek, voorsitter.
That is correct, Chairperson.
Uthi ke ewe ngenawukwazi ukwenza kaloo nto leyo ngoba bekuzofuneka ukuthi babe nabantu abasebenza ngevideo abayi-15 okanye babe yi-20 nani labo.
In terme van u vraag, elke operateur is verantwoordelik vir die hantering en instandhouding en versorging van sy of haar pertinente uitgereikte videotoerusting.
Answer to your question, every operator is responsible for the taking care, the maintenance, and the seeing to it that the instrument issued to him or her is in order.
Xa ndithetha ke ngokujongwa ke ngokuba ziyasebenza ezi video, lo uyisebenzisayo nguye ofuneka ayikhathalela ibone uba ke ngoku isebenza kakuhle ezi video ezi barekhoda ngazo.
General, can I ask you to have a look at the warning statement of Warrant Officer Ndlovu, which was also distributed by Ms. Hardy during the course of the day on Monday? It's a warning statement that has a case number at the top and has a number of short paragraphs on its first page. It's just 2 pages long.
Ndicela ke ngoku sijonge phaa kwintetho ibhalwe phantsi eyaka Warrant Officer Ndlovu.
Triple G 31, I presume, Chairperson. Ndlovu, Warrant Officer Ndlovu.
Voorsitter, die verklaring wat ek van Owen Ndlovu het, wys nie dat dit 'n waarskuwingsverklaring is nie.
Chairperson, the statement that I have about Warrant Officer Ndlovu does not indicate that it's a warning statement.
Intetho ke yaka Mhlekazi Warrant Officer Ndlovu endinayo apha ayibonisi into yoba intetho yokulumkisa elapho leyo.
Can I ask my colleague to get you a copy of the document that we specifically are looking at so that I'm sure you do have it? I hope the commissioners do have a document that has at the top of it a warning statement.
Yes, we have.
Thank you, Chairperson.
So that's a typed document. Attached to it is another document which is handwritten, and I take it that's the document that the witness is referring to. That's simply headed statement under oath.
That is also my understanding, Chairperson. And I wish to refer to paragraph 6 of the typed document, if I might. Thank you, Ms. Mond.
Ndiyawucela ke ujonge paragraph leyo yesithandathu ke ngoku.
You'll notice that Warrant Officer Ndlovu is one of those individuals who had to withdraw because he feared for his safety. What I would like to look at specifically is the very last sentence of that paragraph. He indicates that the camera belonged to Lonmin, the camera that was in his possession. Would you, based on what you've just said, it would have been appropriate and you would have expected somebody in his position to have a SABC camera that he's responsible for and that he can account for, not so?
Njengoba ufunda apha ke uyatsho ba le camera wayephethe yaseLonmin kodwa ke njengoba wayelipolisa bunolindele into yobana icamera ephetheyo ibe yicamera yamapolisa akunjalo?
Voorsitter, dit is korrek. Hy het egter nie 'n kamera tot sy beskikking gehad en dis die addisionele kameras, ons het 2 addisionele kameras gereël.
It's correct, Chairperson. He did not have a camera in possession. We were we assisted with 2 cameras which were loaned.
Ke inyani le wayengena icamera saye sabolekwa ezimbini icamera.
You would agree, General, that that is not the best case scenario and that you would prefer making sure that your personnel have their equipment that they can account for and that SAPS also can account for?
Ke ngoku uzovumelana namba leyo ayindlela efanelekileyo apho ke ngoku kufuneka kusetyenzwe ngayo apho into bazawukwazi ukuthi nabe-SAPS bakwazi ukuba baphendule kuzo.
Dit is ongetwyfeld so.
Undoubtedly so, yes.
Ngokungathandabuziyo inyani leyo.
I now would like to turn to an entirely different topic, General, if I might.
Leave that topic. Can I ask a question or two? It appears from the statement, by the way, the handwritten statement is exactly the same as the typed one. It's just the typed one is headed warning statement, the handwritten one isn't, but the content appears to be the same. If he was using a Lonmin camera, I don't know the technical term, but presumably there's is it a hard drive or a soft drive or a SCAFI of some kind that's in the camera on which the material is recorded? What is it? Do you call the thing that's in the camera on which the recording takes place?
Ndafuna uyiqonda ke ngoku yena usihlala into ba phaa kwicamera yonke lento ke ngoku irekodwayo iya kule nto ibizwa uba yi-card drive okanye ntoni ufuna uyazi uba apho le nto irekodwayo icholwayo ngecamera into ibizwa yintoni le nto istorwa kuyo yonke le nto ithathwayo?
Voorsitter, dit sal waarskynlik of 'n SD-kaart of 'n microkaart of dan 'n harde skyf wees, hard drive of 'n SD-kaart.
Okay. Well, let's stick to hard drive for the
Could either
moment.
be a micro
No, we're talking
SD
about.
or a hard drive card, Mr. Chairman.
uthi ke ibizwa ikhadi eli le SD okanye i-hard drive uthi usihlalo masebenzise ke eligama le hard drive.
Do you know whether the hard drives, or the hard drive, let's speak in the singular, which was in the camera that Warrant Officer Ndlovu used, was a London hard drive or a SABC hard drive?
Into endibuza into yoba ke ngoku kulaa camera yayiphethwe ngu-warrant officer Ndlovu i-hard drive le yaye yamapolisa okanye yaye yaselonmin?
Voorsitter, ek is 99% seker dis die betrokke kameras in net soos hy ontvang het as eenheid. Dis nie 'n polisie.
I would be 99% sure, Mr. Chairperson, that the hard drive belonged to the camera which was in question, which was used.
Into endiqinisekileyo ngayo into yokuba laa hard drive ngeyakhamera yayisetyenziswa apho.
After the operation, presumably the SAPS would have wanted a copy at least of what had been recorded, because the whole purpose of videographing these operations is for the SAPs to have a video record of what happened. So I take it we can assume that what was on the Lonman hard drive would have been copied onto a hard drive for the SAPs. I take it that's a fair inference, is it?
Ngoba ke ngoku sitsho into yokuba phaa kwikhamera leyo kwiphulo lamapolisa emva kwayo kuye kuthathwe ke ngoku leyo hard drive leyo kwenzela uba kwenziwe ikopi ezaba yamapolisa. Injalo loo nto leyo?
Voorsitter, dis korrek, dit is net so afgelaai oor.
It is correct. It was downloaded.
Kunjalo ke baye yonke into yayilapho bayikhuphela kakhona kwenye hard drive.
Thank you, Chairperson. The next general theme I'd like to deal with, for lack of a better heading, I'd like to refer to as accounting and disclosure, I suppose. And I'd like to deal with it in two separate phases. The first being what we would refer to as the full record that might be available, taken during the course of the operation. I'm speaking now of any information that might have been kept between the 10th and the 16th, well, actually all the way up till the 20th or the 22nd exactly of August of last year when the operations ended. And my first question on that score to you, General, is whether or not you had taken any contemporaneous notes during the course of that week and whether or not we could have a gander at them.
Ke ngoku into endifuna uza kuyo yini le ukuba ke ngoku uzovezwa izinto ezibe zibhalwa kanye zicholwa ngezinto zokude kodwa apho ingakumbi nijonge kusuka kulaa mhla wa-10 uyotsho nge-22 ka-Agasti kukhona apho into ezazisenzeka apho wona wathi wabhala khona?
Voorsitter, ek het nie.
I did not, Chairperson.
Azange ndiyenze into elolo enjalo.
Have you taken any kind of notes even shortly thereafter with respect to the operation? And we'll talk about Potch in a moment, but did you take any kind of notes in order to recall specifically any acts, moments, instructions, any of the like? Perhaps shall we go up to a week, 2 weeks thereafter?
Zikhona mhlawumbi izinto ndingathi uzibhalile bezinokwazi ukuba zikukhumbuze ingakumbi emva kwephulo elo lamapolisa mhlawumbi ezingakukhumbuza ngemiyalelo mhlawumbi othe wayenza nezinye izinto ezingezinye?
Voorsitter, ek het notas geneem in konsultasie met ons regspan.
I made notes in consultation with our legal team, Mr. Chairperson.
Ke ngoku ndibhala ke xana ndibano kunye neqela lethu labameli amagqwetha.
It seems as though an operation of this magnitude, there'd be a lot of information to keep in and absorb without, at the very least, scribbling something into one's pocketbook, for example. Would you not have expected at least some of the senior officers, perhaps, to have taken some contemporaneous notes, even though you did not?
Njengoba kaloku libiliphulo ke ngoku elikhulu lamapolisa kwaye kwenzeke into ezininzi kwaye kuye kubekho izinto eziye zivela bungalindelanga mhlawumbi ngaphandle kwakho uba bakhona abanye abanezikhundla eziphezulu lamapoliseni apho babesinothi ezinye izinto bazibhale phantsi?
Voorsitter, kommissie-offisiere dra nie 'n sakboek nie of hulle is nie verplig om 'n sakboek te dra nie.
Commissioned officers don't carry pocketbooks, Mr. Chairperson. It's not a requirement that they carry.
Maar ek sou sekerlik verwag dat daar verseker lede is of offisiere is wat notas gemaak het. Ek het nie
But I
twyfel
would
daaroor nie.
expect that there would be members or officers that did take notes.
Ke aba ke ngokubona bezikhundla akhonto imfuneko inyanzelisa into abantu bazobhala izinto ezenzekayo kodwa ke abanye abangabanye benolindele into babona babhale.
As ek net kan sê dat ek verstaan contemporaneous notes as notas nie gemaak in 'n amptelike register nie. So 'n sakboek sal 'n amptelike register wees of 'n dagboek sal 'n amptelike register wees. So ek weet nie of ek verkeerd is in hoe ek dit verstaan nie.
I understand contemporary notes to be notes that are not made in any official document. So the documents you have referred to, a pocketbook and a diary. A diary would then be official documents.
Contemporaneous notes are simply notes made at the time, whether official or unofficial.
Ke ubuzwa ngento ezibhalwe ngela xesha noba sizinto mhlawumbe ezazibhalwe ngokusesikweni okanye umuntu wayebhale nje uthetha ke ngezinto ezazibhalwe ngela xesha usihlalo.
Daar sal verseker wees voorsitter in die voorvalleboek, in sakboeke en in dagboeke van offisiere.
There would certainly be, Ms. Chairperson, in the documents that I've named of officers, the occurrence books and their diaries and so on.
Bekunoba njalo ke kuba khokhe le ncwadi bizwa ke amapolisa yeziganeko kunye ke ne diary ezizabo.
Just to confirm that everybody on duty actually did have those pocketbooks with them, we have a few examples in the iPad file provided to us. One or two examples, I believe, were made available to all. It is within the iPad files, the documents A165 to A191 and file A199. I believe there should be one such document, or at the very least an example of it in front of you. It's a report by section commander, and it seems to be a list of members on station, on duty, and list not only their name, rank, the time at which they came on duty, but also the equipment that they might have had with them.
Likhono liqephu ke athetha ngalo ke ngoku lali vela okanye ingxelo ke ivela ke ku inkomanda leyo yecandelo uthi apho kubhalwe inani lamapolisa efuneka lapho ke wayesemsebenzini kwakunye nezixhobo zokusebenza ababe nazo kubongelwa xesha uthemba into bana ke ngoku ugeneral unayo into enjalo phambi kwakhe.
Excuse ek kry dit nie tussen my notas nie, as jy net vir my kan verwys.
I don't get it in my notes. If you could just give me a reference.
Andifumani ke apha kula maxwebhu am uba ngixele ba indawo nina.
We would have made copies of any of the files, just because we wanted to use just one as an example, that are marked A165 in handwriting at the top right-hand corner all the way to A191 or A199.
Have we been given copies of these documents?
I understood Ms. Hardy to have provided at least one copy of these, yes, during the course of Monday. It would be a 2-page document. It might be confused with the documents that we referred to that highlighted the debriefing officers, the health and wellness officers, but they are entirely separate documents.
I don't remember it, but that doesn't mean that I didn't get it. But if you have another copy for us, if you're going to hand it in, you can give it to me now so I can mark it in the exhibit.
Fortunately, Ms. Hardy is present, I see. It's always nice to have her. I'm sure she'll find them. Thank you, Chairperson. If we could just bear with me and give me a few moments to make sure she does, I would like to finalize this issue first.
Any further questions about his own notes or lack thereof?
No, I'm not.
Right, well, perhaps I can ask a question while Ms. Hardy is doing what she's been asked to do. Major General, I take it must have been apparent to you on the 16th that there was going to be proceedings of some kind relating to what happened on the 16th, and that you'd be an important witness.
Dis reg, voorsitter.
It's correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo uthi ke kwakucacile noba yayikho nto eyiza kwenzeka phaa ngomhla we-16.
And in those circumstances, it's normally sensible to, while things are still reasonably fresh in one's memory, to make some kind of notes to enable one, not contemporaneous notes, but later, while things are still reasonably fresh in one's memory, so that to enable one to give accurate evidence when called upon to do so. Would you agree with that?
Ngoku ke ngoku kubalulekile xa kwenzeka into ezinjalo uba umuntu abhale isenzeka ngelo xesha ukwenzela uba emva kwexesha azawukwazi uba azowukhumbula ingakumbi ke xa ezokwazi uba azosebenzisa izinto kubungqina bakhe. Into efanelekileyo leyo.
Dit kan verseker help, voorsitter.
It would certainly help, Mr.
Now,
Chairperson.
I see your statement that we have, which is Exhibit G1, is dated the 12th of November. Did you make any notes, drafts, or preliminary memoranda for yourself or for others before the 12th of November, setting out what you could remember of the events of the day? Or the days, essentially from the 12th, I suppose, through to the 16th?
Ikhona phange 12 kaAugust into wathi wayibhala mhlawumbi wapho buze ubhala phansi khona ukhumbule izinto mhlawumbi ezenzekayo.
Voorsitter, alhoewel my verklaring geteken is en beëdig is op die 12de November, het ek reeds by Potchefstroom op die 27ste begin werk aan my verklaring.
Chairperson, though my statement is dated the 12th of November, already at Potchefstroom on the 27th, I had started working on my statement.
Kodwa ke nangona istatement sam sibhalwe umhla we-12 kaNovember kodwa ke ndandisendi ngelixesha ndixakeke phaa ndandisenixakeke phaa ePotchefstroom ngela xesha ndibambekile ngoko.
Voorsitter, en ek het my konsepverklaring klaargemaak voordat ons vertrek het in Potchefstroom.
I had completed my concept statement. Draft statement before leaving Potchefstroom, Mr. Chairperson. I'm sorry.
En ek het
Ndasigqiba ke ngoku istatement sam esinye singekagunyaziswa ngaphambi koba ndimke phaa ePotchefstroom.
En ek het ook in die tyd het ek die eerste keer het ek gekonsulteer met ons regspan en ek het taamlik notas gemaak tydens die konsultasies.
And it was also during that time that I had a consultation with our lawyers, and I made thorough notes during those consultations.
Ndadibana ke ngoku namagqwetha ethu ngelo xesha kwakulapho ke ngoku into ezininzi ndathi ndazibhala khona.
Voorsitter, die omgewing was so besig geweest nog tot die 25ste, die Saterdag wat ek kontrak het. Ons is elke dag was ons nog besig geweest. Dit was 'n baie moeilike tyd geweest die week na die geval op die 16de. En ons was net die hele tyd besig nog steeds om voort te gaan met polisieering. Ek het nie eers daaraan aandag gegee nie.
The week after the occurrence, Mr. Chairman, was a very, very busy week, and we were still busy with policing, and I was kept very busy and could not at that time.
Iveki ke ngoku yayilandelayo yayiveki esasixakeke kakhulu kwaye sasixakeke kakhulu nangezinto zobupolisa.
Thank you. I see we've now been given some a document, but before we look at that, my colleague Edward Hemraj wants to ask a question.
General, there's a very extensive document on the police hard drive, which is the narrative, the police narrative. Was that compiled as a result of written statements handed to somebody, notes handed to somebody, or just as a result of verbal input?
Ibona ke ngoku apha kwi-hard drive yamapolisa ininzi le nto amapolisa ayibalisayo apho ufuna uqonda uba ke into ekhokhela uba kuzobakho izinto ezibaliswayo ezo kwakungenxa yoba kukho iinto ezazibhaliwe ezasiwa ngaphambili nakanye zizinto ezazithethwa ngomlomo qha ezo.
Commissaris, dit was 'n kombinasie van verklarings wat reeds afgelê was, byvoorbeeld aan iPad.
It was a combination, Commissioner, of statements that have been made, for instance, with the iPad.
Yaba zizinto ezininzi ezo iquka ke ngoku i-statement ezazisenziwe phaa kwaba base-iPad.
Maar ook individuele mondelingse insette wat gelewer was deur die bevelvoerders.
But also individual oral inputs that were delivered by made by the commanders.
Kwakukho nezinye izinto ke ngoku ezathi zathethwa ke ngoku ngomlomo zithethwa ziikhomanda.
Voorsitter, commissaris, en dan was daar wegbreekgroepe en van hulle het gebruik gemaak van blaaiborde, flipchart.
Were then breakaway groups, some of them were using flip charts and so on.
Kwabakho ke ngoku amaqela ahlukeneyo ayisebenzisa indlela ke ngoku ezahlukeneyo.
En dan baie van hulle het nadat hulle so 'n wegbreekgroep gehad het 'n verteenwoordiger van die groep het dan gaan staan by kolonel Visser en by luitenant-kolonel Scott en dan terugvoer gegee in terme van pertinente aspekte.
When these breakaway groups would then assemble, would then make inputs, their leaders would then make inputs to Colonel Visser and also to Colonel Scott.
Ay ke ngoku lamaqela amancinci aphinda dibana ke ngoku baye babethi ekudibaneni kwabo baphinde ke ngoku bekho into abazithethayo bexelele uColonel Fesser noColonel Scott.
I've marked this document, which we've been handed, which is headed Report by Section Commander and has a date stamp, the 21st of August. I've marked it triple G32.
Thank you, Chairperson. You mentioned the stamp. I'd like just to turn to the date as is handwritten at the top of that document.
Yes, I just said that to identify the document.
I appreciate that, Chairperson. General, as I understand, this document is a log of which officers were on duty and what equipment they had with them, what cars they would have been responsible for, and so on. Is that correct?
Indlela ekubhalwe ngayo pha kuyabonakala into yobana ke ngoku la mapolisa ayilapha kwakufuneke ke ngoku kwakubhalwa amagama abo nokuba ngeziphi iinqwelo ekuba bezisebenzisa nokuba ke ngoku ngeluphi uhlobo ke ngoku lwezixhobo zokusebenza babezisebenzisa apho kunjalo.
That is correct, Voorsitter.
It's correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
And certainly this one, handwritten on date, says 16 August. So it would refer to whichever second commander this was specifically filled by and his record of those members that he's responsible for, names, firearms, and equipment available, correct? On that date.
Lona ke ngoku wayephethe icandelo amagama abantu babengaphantsi kwakhe amagama kwaye na yonke into babezosebenza ngayo apho kunjalo.
That is correct, Voorsitter.
It's correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
Would you be so kind as to turn the page over, just the second page, that has, for example, at the top of it, a table marked particulars of vehicles, and the second table, which is what I'd like to turn your attention to, marked equipment of members. If one looks at the second column, marked pocketbook, it's ticked. That would mean that all of those members would actually have confirmed that they had their pocketbook with them, correct?
Awujonga ke ngoku apha ke ngoku kwi ngezantsi kuthethwa ke ngoku ngezincwadana zabo baziphathayo kwabonisa into yobana ke ngoku apha bathi bakorekisha ukubonisa noba babeziphethe bonke ezo ncwadana ezo kunjalo.
That is correct, Voorsitter.
That is correct.
Kunjalo.
I understand you've been provided with two such examples. There are quite a number, as I referred to, A165 to A191 of IPID and A199. All of these are similar and confirm that the members had their pocketbooks. General, you mentioned that there was a possibility that members at that level might have taken notes during the course of this operation, at the very least all the way from the 10th to the 22nd, in these pocketbooks. Is that a possibility?
Njengoba busithi kubunolindelwa ke wonke amapolisa uninzi lawo baphathe ezincwadana zabo lento ke ukuthi binokwenzeka mhlawumbe kusukela ngomhla ka10 kaAugust uyotsho ngomhla ka22 into enjalo ingenzeka na.
That is correct, Voorsitter.
Correct, Chairperson, yes.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
Chairperson, at this stage, my difficulty is that we've been informed by the SAPS that these pocketbooks are not available. We made numerous discovery requests for these pocketbooks because we thought that these notes might be, at the very least, relevant to the proceedings before this commission. We understood that it might be quite an exercise to obtain all of these pocketbooks, especially since individuals are in posts in different corners of the country. But as things currently stand, the last date we'd been promised them was March 15th. That has come and gone, and as far as we are told, we are, at our last correspondence, not anticipating that these pocketbooks would be provided. And I would urge the Commission to ask that they kindly be provided by the SAPS.
Did you raise this matter with Mr. Semenya this morning before we started? Because we did indicate that this kind of matter should best be dealt with outside the formal sittings of the Commission by interchanges between practitioners, preparing for the various parties. And I'm sure if you'd spoken to Mr. Semenya this morning or yesterday, we might have an up-to-date report. Anyway, Mr. Semenya may well not be able to deal with the matter now because you hadn't alerted it to him. But I take it, Mr. Semenya, you will be able to go into the matter.
If I might, Chairperson, I appreciate the Chairperson's comments, and perhaps Mr. Semenya and I can have a chat during the course of the tea break. We have been making these requests since January 18th, and there's practically every week a letter asking.
I understand, but you say the last feedback you got was the 15th of March. The real question is what the position is now. And if you'd asked Mr. Semenya earlier, then he could be able to tell us now. But anyway, that's water under the bridge. I'm sure that will be dealt with. I noticed that all the people in your second document apparently had pocketbooks, except, as is to be expected, the first person, who was an officer, Captain Faree, he had a diary. And I don't know how these things work, but I would imagine it's probably easier to find the diaries of officers than to find the pocketbooks of
Our discovery request encompassed all contemporaneous notes, Chairperson.
Yes, I understand. In the past, I think I've had the experience that somehow the officers, it's easier for them to produce their diaries than for the constables to produce their pocketbooks. But others may have had different experience. But anyway, the point of the story is that Captain Faree, who in fact is the member in charge listed on this document, records that he himself had a diary. But the other ones to which you refer are pocketbooks. But Mr. Semenya, I'm sure, and those assisting him will go into the matter, and we'll have a report on the status of your discovery request sooner rather than later. Is that correct, Mr. Semenya?
Isicelo ke besenzwe ke advocate jele ntoba nokuba ke ngokuzithatha kanye incwadana ezi zeziganeko zamapolisa kuba uthi kudala enze isicelo sokuba ufuna uzibone kwenzela azokwazi uba ngela xesha leziganeko zindoni zazibhalwe apho.
Sorry, General, can I just ask you this? I understand you want these documents. I take it the documents themselves, when and if you finally get them, aren't necessarily going to be of any use in cross-examining this witness. They may well be of assistance in cross-examining others, or am I incorrect?
My anticipation was that this witness would confirm that they at the very least would be available and might have information that would be relevant.
Well,
and I just wanted to make sure that we confirmed that.
Okay, we'll put that question to him, and then Mr. Semenya and those assisting him will endeavour further to assist you.
I understood the witness to have stated that it was likely that members might have taken contemporaneous notes. I didn't think I needed to ask him that any further, but perhaps he can be of assistance and confirm that.
Njengoba betshilo ke ngokunaye unjengele apha into yokuba yinto enokwenzeka le into ba mhlawumbi lo mapolisa elapho aye kwizincwadi zawo zeziganeko ayibhala into eyayisenzeka apho kodwa ke uzayingqinisisa ngoku loo nto leyo.
Voorsitter, ja, sakboek is typiese inskrywings. Dit sal begin met die dag van wat jy sal meld duty on.
The pocketbook would usually start with the date on which the date of the entry.
Ke ngoku apha kule ncwadana baqala babhale kuqala
Sorry, I didn't understand the interpretation. Could you reinterpret if you don't mind?
It would start
It begins with the date of the entry. A particular entry in a pocketbook will begin with the date of the entry. And then I think the witness hasn't told us that yet. It'll have something like came on duty. And then you'll have a short little description, normally, in my experience, of the nature of the work done that day.
Yes.
So meaning the entry into the pocketbook. That was my confusion. It's fine. Thank you, Chairperson.
He can tell us more, perhaps using knowledge that I acquired, which is not necessarily accurate and may not coincide in the event with his.
It's confirmed by the General.
I can only confirm what the chairperson says. It will start with duty on. It will allude to the specifics in terms of posting. If a person is posted on a vehicle, it will mention that I'm the driver or the crew of a vehicle, or I'm posted in the following capacity. The person would normally have to mention the firearm that is on duty with a firearm. If it's a vehicle, he would mention the SAP number of the vehicle. And then typically when a member it's let's say of a visible policing and they would attend to a complaint, then they will mention the detail. I responded to the following complaint at the time. They will give a short synopsis in terms of what the complaint entailed. In terms of reposting, it's important that they have to mention when there's a reposting. So in terms of Marikana, I'm sure that you will find a lot of the people will refer to being posted on duty. and then they will mention when they were posted off duty. There's an expectation that they would reflect if they use their firearm. That you would expect that a member would complete, because it's something out of the ordinary. Some members will obviously show more detail and others not. It also depends in terms of the time and the circumstances, that you cannot make the entry at the time. So it might mean that only afterwards that you will go and complete the actual pocketbook. But there will be a reference. It will at least show that the members were on duty. It will at least show where they were posted, to the time that they went off duty. That would be reflected.
Uthi ezibhalwayo ke ngoku kulo ncwadana yamapolisa indawo ke ngoku yokuqala into ebhalwe apho into yoba lo mntu lowo uphangele okanye ke ngoku semsebenzini, nokuba ke uthunyelwa into yoba makayosebenza phi, nenqwelo ahamba ngayo into yoba uzoba ngumqhubi wale nqwelo okanye uzawukhwela mbe nabanye, nesikhundla sakhe kunye nomntu azawusebenza kunye nenombolo ke ngoku lale nqwelo ayikhweleyo, nokuba ukuba ke watsalula umnxeba into yoba kukho indawo ekho ingxaki kuyo kufuneka abaleke aye kuyo, funeka abhale nokuba ke ngoku atsho amagqabantshintshi kwenzeke ntoni apho kuloo ndawo leyo. Sizinto ezinjalo naxana ke ngosephuma emsebenzini ucinga nabo babeye phaa emarikana nabo babhala into yoba babephangela, naxa umntu ke ngoku sephuma emsebenzini uyabhala into yoba uphume ngabani ixesha na.
All three of us as commissioners have had experience of reading pocketbooks in the past, and I don't know whether our experience is the same as yours, but normally you get very cryptic notes like something like bezig met onluste beheer. That would be a sentence which covers the events of a whole afternoon, for example. In other words, I don't want us to go on a wild goose chase looking for pocketbooks which are all going to contain cryptic information that doesn't help anybody. But is that the kind of note that you'd expect, or do you sometimes get more detail than that?
Thina ke ngoku singo-commissioner apha nathi sinamava kuloo nto, sike sasifunda kakhulu ke ezincwadi zeziganeko apho ke ngoku umntu athi mhlawumbi emva kwemini okanye ngokuhla abhala noba kwenzeke into lolu hlobo ke ngoku iba yinto enjalo.
General, before you answer that, as I understand, pocketbooks don't really contain a narrative of the events.
Ndiqonda kakuhle na into yokubana ezi ncwadana ke ngoku babhala kwiziganeko ababhali ke ngobachancaathe ngesiganeko okanye isehlo esisiye senzeka.
Voorsitter, commissaris, nee, nie noodwendig nie. En party mense sal of meestal sal waarskynlik kriptiese notas maak, maar dan sal ook die perfeksioniste onder ons wat sal 'n meer volledige inskrywing maak, maar weer eens het dit te doen met die tyd beskikbaar.
Not necessarily, Chairperson. Some people would write very cryptic notes, except there are perfectionists who would write in much more detail. But it also depends on the time available and the pertaining to an incident happening.
Uthi ke hayi ke kuye kuxhomekeke kakhulu ngokuba abanye bayenze ibe into egqibeleyo ingakumbi abantu abatsolileyo. Enye into ke ukuba baye baxhomekeke kwixesha nesiganeko eso siyenzeke ngelo xesha.
Voorsitter, as ek verder mag help, het een van die bewysstukke wat sy beskikbaar gestel het was 'n dagboek afskrif van en ek kan nie die kaptein, ek dink is 'n kaptein se naam onthou nie.
One of the documents that was produced by Advocate Jailer was a diary of a captain. I can't remember the name.
Enye ke ngoku yamaxwebhu evezwe apha ke ngu-advocate ibe yi-diary ye-captain, kodwa ndisakhumbula igama lelo captain uba ngubani na.
I saw it with the exhibits that you asked that we have to go through, and that is a typical example in terms of an officer that went into detail. It was in a diary. I picked up that he even mentioned the 6 stages in terms of when he received the briefing, and he mentioned a lot of detail. So you will get that, but you will also get others that will just show a reflection on and off duty. So maybe if we can have that one, you will see that it's quite.
We can compare it with Brigadier Mkanazi's diary, which he gave us, which is an exhibit, I can't remember the number, which is more of the cryptic variety. So you have the perfectionist type, one to which you've referred, and then you have Brigadier Mkanazi, I think, is probably more typical, which is fairly cryptic little notes. Anyway,
Perhaps
it's a
the
discussion
General
that
could point me to that document so that we know exactly how to recognize that particular document, because we probably wouldn't have known that it was.
He says that one of the documents that Ms. Hardy produced was a diary extract, was an extract of a diary from he thinks a captain, and my recollection is that Brigadier Mkanazi produced his diary for the relevant period, and it's an exhibit. When Ms. Pillay returns, she'll tell us what the exhibit number is, because I haven't got a note of it. But those are typical examples of what you get. But perhaps I should ask one more question. I understand that pocketbooks, when they are completed, are handed in and are stored. Is that correct?
Xa sokugqityiwe ke ngoku zibhaliwe ezi pocket book
They are far away.
ziyabuyiswa because apho zigcinwa khona kunjalo.
Dit is korrek, dit word in die argiewe gehou, voorsitter.
Correct, Chairperson, kept in the archives.
Ewe zigcinwa apho amaqephu agcinwa khona.
Just for the sake of completeness, we've been talking about pocketbooks. General, would an officer's diary contain more information or less? Could you give us just an idea of what information might be contained in an officer's diary?
Ke ngoku ngeyiphi into engaqulathwa ke ngoku diary yepolisa khasinika umzekelo bafuneka ibe into enjani.
Voorsitter, daar sal waarskynlik minder wees omdat dit meer verwys na vergaderings bygewoon en tipies hoe die uitleg van 'n dagboek is, beperkte spasie in terme van net 1 bladsy of 'n halwe bladsy.
It would be even less because it would pertain to meetings attended and so on, and the space is limited to 1 page only.
Lonto ke ngoku ayisoze ibe nenkcazelo okanye into ezininzi ezibhalweyo ngakumbi babhala kakhulu ngentlanganiso kwaye kusetyenziswa iphepha libe linye ke ngemini.
Voorsitter, dan het ek die betrokke dagboek opgespoor, dis onder die discovery response by the SABC to request by the SAHRC dated 22 April, and it says contingency notes, pocketbooks and diaries, and there's one of a Matibela.
Uyatsho ke ngokuba apho kwakwenziwe isicelo ke ngoku ngaba bamele amalungelo abantu becela ke ngoku amaqephu amapolisa iincwadi zabo uthi ikhona ekhoyo ke ngoku eyakaMathibela.
I believe the
Commissioners,
General...
sorry, we commissioners haven't got that, but presumably Ms. Hardy will remedy that omission as well.
Might be easier for the SAPS team to do so, or alternatively for the evidence leaders, Chairperson, just because we would not have actually looked to having that particular document available. Our records is that we have 2 or 3 examples of such documents.
So I understood the Major General to say that that was a document that he got the other day as part of the distribution of documents before your cross-examination. If I misunderstood him,
He
then
would
I
be
apologize.
referring to Malwetse's statement, Warrant Officer Malwetse's statement, and to annexures there too, if I'm not mistaken. General?
Njebe sitsho nayo General into yoba kaloku wafumana kwa zivela kubo ezinto athetha ngazo apha uthi ke ngoku ubhekisa yena advocate jele kuyintetho kanye kwi-statement saka General Malwetse kunjalo.
It is under your paragraph 26 where it says discovery response by the SAPS to request by the SAHRC dated 22 April 2013. And that was apparently one of the documents that was made available based on that discovery request.
Uthi ke ngoku eluxwebhu ke ngoku lanikwa aba ke ngoku bamela amalungu abantu ngeli xesha bebesenza isicelo sabo phaa kwi-SAPS.
General, do I understand correctly that you were handed some documents before Advocate Daly cross-examined you, which you were asked to peruse so you wouldn't be taken by surprise when you were questioned about particular matters? Was the document to which you're now referring, extract from the diary of the captain, one of those documents?
Ngeli xesha ke wawucela uxwebhu nawe into yokuba uthi awufuni nje bavele nje bakuqubule ngemibuzo kodwa ungakhange unikwe amaqephu ngaphambili. Le nto uthetha ngayo na ikwamanye amaqephu othe wawacela ke ngaphambili.
Chairperson, we received a list and our nodal point compiled the exhibits in terms of, or the documents in terms of this reference. So I did not receive it from Ms. Hardy, so I do not know if it's...
You received a reference to it, in effect?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, we didn't get them. It's an omission which I'm sure will be remedied. And, Ms. Jelly, if you need these documents before you proceed with the cross-examination, the way to solve the problem is we take tea 5 minutes earlier, and that will give Ms. Hardy an extra 5 minutes to do the necessary. Is that a suggestion that finds favour with you?
Otherwise, I would move to another topic, so that seems entirely convenient, Chairperson. Thank you.
If you've got a 5-minute topic, we can do that. Otherwise...
I don't believe I have any 5-minute topics. Apologies, Chairperson.
What depressing news. We'll take the tea adjournment till 11:15.
Siyawuphunga siyawuphinda sibuye kwakhona xa sigqiba uphunga